Welcome, welcome. Hello.
Everybody coming
If you open
in.
your chat, make sure you let us know where you're joining us from. Thank you. I'll start us off. Hello from LA. Here we go.
Hello from my computer.
Hello. I see.
Hello, hello. Okay. This is going to be a fun little twist. Yeah, it is.
The whole month.
The whole month.
Yeah.
But today in particular, I want to just, because the theme, again, that we're exploring in language can bring about a lot of, we'll say, varied understandings. And we are not only English language speaking in using these words for the theme, but multiple languages that, as we know, have masculines and feminines, and who knows what this means. But the nature of image and action is the theme this month. And we want to do a little recap of last week. Let me step back for a moment. The premise of today's exploration is going to be around the nature of image and action and occupation, our job, our role in life. So it's going to take on a very experiential and finite perspective. But I want to just take a second to kind of look back to last Wednesday's opening to this theme. And we explored the nature or the image of self, our true nature, our inner knowingness, and the self-image we're attaching to it and projecting out, and how we so easily move in and out of sync around this idea, specifically with family. We explored some very sensitive and shared some very transparent situations. And I think it was so useful and helpful to hear the perspective, because when family specifically is at the center of our image, our actions, our identity in a way, we have to ask, is image and action the image that we are projecting? And the actions that we either are offering or receiving, are they two different images? Do they come often with two different understandings? Discrepancies might be even a better way to say it. But one way or another, we do know that the physical world depends and relies on image from the perspective of our self-concept. And today, since we're going to explore this idea of image, specifically from the lens or through the lens of the self-concept we have in our job, our occupation, our role. Your job may be to be a mother, daughter, probably not daughter, but your role may be to be a mother or a father or a caregiver to a family member. That's a role. We're not looking specifically to narrow it to, again, an occupation or a job with the intricacies of you are an employee of, or you have a business. This is going to take on a little broader perspective. So we're going to use the image when we're speaking about what we're projecting into the world as our self. We're going to refer to it as a self-concept. And the other side of that will be what we are always exploring here, which is the infinite nature of our true being, that ineffable, irreducible, one consciousness being. So as the life leaders and I and Eric were speaking just before we got on, and Katrina brought up, it's so interesting. There really isn't an image specifically when we're referring to our true nature or the awareness that we are. We sort of release the image. And I think we want to loosely hold that because, again, we can only in embodiment be so close to pure awareness or our true self. Even that takes on an image of sorts. That's, again, where God, love, infinite intelligence, these are images one way or another, even though they have no image, they have no form. They are formless. So again, we're going to explore both the true nature, our true nature, and we're going to lay it over self-concept. Self-concept is going to be how we explore our role, our occupation. So I hope I've sufficiently confused you, but if not, let me give it to you this way in a simple idea. The inquiry of the self-concept and our actions around it for our job, our role, our occupation may lay in or be woven from the power to see ourselves. So just write that down. And it may not go where you think it's going to go. But
Excuse me.
The idea,
My tea didn't go where I thought it was going to go.
this self-concept may most fully realize itself, again, in and around this power to see ourselves. So what are we suggesting in that? There are filters for reality. We know this. We know that we come from and of awareness into an experience. That experience is all that is experiencing itself, but there is a filter of reality. And again, that first place is often, again, this experience. So within it, when we have or we move into trying to find an occupation, a job, a role, in the first place, the self-concept is important because everything we do, say, hear, feel, perceive is influenced by how we see ourselves in some form or another. Every human being has several selves living sort of comfortably in a variety of roles. So the self-concept, occupation, role, might be multi-tiered. Father, mother, husband, wife, life partner, business person, golfer, bridge player. Maybe you're the life of the party. These, in a way, are roles. They're self-concepts. Life of the party is actually an occupation in this day and age. It's an influencer. It's so they are self-concepts. But when there are conflicts, I'm going to suggest between these roles or multiple roles, then discomfort can arise. And some of these discomforts bring with it the dynamic of tension, guilt, and disease.
Anna is asking, can we make a bridge, kind of a bridge between occupation and career?
Well, let's do this. Yes, I think we can. There is a crucial disparity between how I see myself and how others see me. And both apply to our true nature and self-concept. There are endless incidences of occupational failures. So to answer Anna's question, connected to this disparity between who I am and who I think I am.
Mhm.
So we may have an occupation and there could be a tremendous disparity between that occupation or disparity between that and our career. And it's great that you're bringing it up, because in a way, your role, you may consider, I know my sister-in-law considers her occupation to be mother. That's her occupation. And yet she has a career as a professional photographer. But they work sort of in a simultaneous dance together, and there are disparities. There are tremendous disparities. So and I don't know if that's the question really, Anna, that you're looking for, but occupation and career.
There are different ways to interpret the two, to even to include how we perceive living one versus another. And it sort of depends on how you lay meaning into the words, I think. So that's why it could be answered different ways.
So why do we think there are endless incidences of, we'll say career, occupational, I'm going to merge those, failures connected to a disparity between who I am and who I think I am? And this is really the nugget that we want to unzip. And again, part of unzipping this is, I'm going to suggest, is going to look at where sometimes this imbalance arises. Sometimes the imbalance arises between who I am and who I think I am when we're searching or seeking purpose or destiny. Okay. And we're taught often that our occupation and career role, in a way, should be our purpose and our destiny.
And it's also a natural way when we meet someone, tell me about yourself, or who are you? And we start off with, I'm A, and fill in the job or career. We start to identify ourselves by what we do, which tends to be a way that we don't allow us to even see, to recognize, not just for the other person, but for ourselves, the I am, or who I am, which are also not necessarily one and the same.
But since we're focused on this sort of inquiry around, and now I'm going to merge this, Anna, both career and occupation, we really want to look at how do we realize this or actualize this without the need for a disparity or an imbalance. And again, I'm going to come back to, this may very well lie in the power to see ourselves. So Harvard Business Review did a paper long ago on leadership. And one of the kind of pivotal key points of it was that it illuminated that it's not enough to just see ourselves as we are now, in our now. Okay. Such understanding is a necessary starting point. I am. To know thyself is a necessary starting point, but it is the basis on which to build ultimately a self-concept. So in a way, we must also see what our real self, in this case, our self-concept could be, so that we can grow into that. And the way that this idea was substantiated was to look at strong people in history who have had one psychological characteristic in common, a very specific psychological characteristic in common, which was they seem to always to have been themselves as persons. In other words, there was a recognition of a self-concept that they were a person. They knew in here. So let me give you the example that they gave. They seem to always to have been themselves as persons. Beethoven continuing to compose after he became deaf. It's a fascinating example. Milton, who didn't allow blindness to interfere with his writing. This one I think is fascinating. Helen Keller, becoming a lecturer, a speaker on opportunities for the handicapped, despite being both deaf and blind. So in this,
it says Isaac Newton continuing to teach after an apple fell on his head. And that's, well, Anna didn't say how, but Anna said Isaac Newton.
Eric's self-concept today is the great disruptor every day. It's not just today.
No, Isaac Newton, Anna says, could not be pressured by any peer into anything that wasn't his own. And actually, Lisa wrote in, it's like wanting reconnective healing to be a bigger part of my life than being an accountant. And I think what they're talking about is not just being a bigger part, but being who they are. For me, I allowed chiropractic to support me so that I could step into, become, actualize, fulfill my destiny, my purpose, as I recognized was not for healing to be a larger part of my life, but to realize that I was healing, a healer, a facilitator, a teacher, and that's who I was. So I think when it shifts for you, Lisa, from wanting reconnective healing to be a bigger part of your life to seeing yourself as a healer, that transition changes.
Oh, and let's give it, I think this is a very interesting intersection. I would assume as an accountant, you need to use your hands. You're working with numbers, you're either writing or you are typing, right? So when the idea of, in other words, Beethoven continuing to compose after he became deaf, when that idea is being attributed to Beethoven always being, if you will, himself, his true nature, even as a person, even as a person. So Beethoven, true nature was music. That was the impulse. Was it? I mean, I guess we would say it was certainly fulfilling his destiny because Beethoven created tremendous music. So the self, that true nature wasn't separate and or not inclusive of the self-concept that was sort of being brought into the world, projected into the world. Same with Helen Keller. We look at it as being, oh, well, we're just overcoming, we'll say a hurdle or a strategy when these things come up. So in the sense that, as Eric pointed out, at least you're an accountant, but you want reconnective healing to be a more active part of your destiny, right? Fulfilling your destiny. And I think you would have to ask yourself in this way, what is the person? Who are you? I'm going to say as the person. What is your truth? What's your truth? And what I love seeing often is when our true nature and our self-concept, and I'm going to bring it forth this way, acknowledge there is a natural resistance between our true nature and the self or the self-concept. It is a natural resistance. Some of the questions that most of us come up with in our lifetime become really useful. So, a self-examination. Who am I? Who am I? Self-expectation. Who am I supposed to be versus self, I'm going to say expectation, I am. Play with those. Self-direction. Finding a flow. Finding the flow in, we'll say, the self-concept is key. Broadening our perception, both our inner and outer life.
So-
Your inner, yes, go ahead.
So I'm going to ask you a question, but I don't want you to answer it right away. Where do we feel arises the resistance between the true nature and the self or the self-concept? However, before you answer that, it's time to say goodbye to the YouTubers for a moment. And we wish you could stay to hear that answer. And some of you may, if you've already joined the Reconnective Life Community, or you can click on to joining the Reconnective Life Community. It's free and fun for the first month. Well, it's free for the first month. It's fun always. How do you like that? So you can link right into this as we delve into that next part of the question. So join the RLC. You can also, if you want to dive more into discovering the reconnective healing experience for yourself, and even to begin to share with your family or close friends, you can go onto the portal. The live online course in the first hour of that is free. And you have just watched the beginning, the middle, and the end of my rapid career in commercial and promotions. Now, back to our regularly scheduled program.
That's a self-concept I just saw emerging there. Wow. So thanks, YouTubers. We appreciate you, and we appreciate you tuning in for a few minutes. Come join us. Press the link. Bye.
Tell us, what is that? So again, we say that there's a natural resistance between our true nature and the self or the self concept. Where does that tend to arise? In other words, what brings it about?
Does anybody want to put in the chat?
We'd love to hear from you.
And we can look at this in a very, I'm going to say, in a very truth and practical scientific way. There is a natural resistance between the infinite nature, or that which is irreducible, and an enclosure that emerges out.
Hello, I'm Dr. Eric Pearl, and I am more than honored to share with Dr. Yoshikazu Namiki-san a presentation with you on how we can transform our lives for true ascension of light. And I will discuss that, and you will discover it through the energy, light, and information of the reconnective healing experience. This will be live and interactive. It will be discussion. It will be live exercises. It is designed for a deep cleansing of the cells, the DNA, our energy bodies, and most excitingly, transformation of our lives for true light through the energy, light, and information of the reconnective healing experience. The reconnective healing experience actively cleanses disease, disorder, disharmony through the dissolving of otherness, through the dissolving of resistance, which frees up the body to naturally and actively cleanse, not just in the immediate, but in the infinite. Of course, we will also explore DNA strands and string theory and many other interactions during this live interactive experience with Dr. Yoshikazu Namiki-san and myself. So please come play, access, and interactively transform as we ascend to the true light through the energy, light, and information that is the Reconnective Healing Experience. We will see you September 11th.
Hi, I'm Eric Pearl, and we have launched an online course called The Portal. It's an expansion of our online essentials, our level 1, an 8+ hour e-learning course.
And we decided to add content because our students were asking for more. What is a portal? It's a doorway to transformation.
It includes the 8 hours of the online essentials course,
2 key chapters, one on love and one on healing, and workbooks from our worthiness episode from the series The Inner Compass.
more than 10 hours of content.
The portal helps us discover our roadblocks that may be stopping us from living our fullest potential.
How does the portal help bring about these benefits? Easy to follow short segments with interactive exercises, information acquired not only through the mind, but through interaction with the frequencies themselves. Effortless learning and personal evolution.
It brings the possibility for instant transformation, healing, and the evolution of each and every one of us in our everyday lives.